Hey guys, it's Magnet back with yet another Q&A episode. It's February 27th, it's a Friday. I have been insanely busy, so I know I'm late to the party, but it's time to get going, so let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So welcome back to my room that is apparently a door and a closet, and we're going to be talking about some Starcraft today, just from questions you guys have posted on previous videos, whether it's on previous Q&A ones or other ones from around that I do. So, this person says, are you going to be doing an updated unit composition for Legacy of the Void, as I know it will drastically change the current and popular unit compositions? Thanks for the great videos. Yeah, so what I did for Heart of the Swarm, and what I've always wanted to do, is I've always wanted to be like the most complete tutorial package for pretty much anything in StarCraft. Because people don't really do that, they just kind of do like what they feel like doing, you know what I mean? So I tried to get everything all organized in Heart of the Swarm, and I plan on doing the same thing for Legacy of the Void, but hopefully not as many videos, because I want to be more succinct than I was in Heart of the Swarm. A lot of my Heart of the Swarm videos, like if you were to watch everything that pertains to your race, it would be like, you know, 12 plus hours just in the one playlist, so it's pretty long, and I kind of want to pare it down and be a little bit more concise and answer more people's questions in advance, so I probably won't be doing as many raw videos, but I will be doing all the same type of stuff that I did in Heart of the Swarm for Legacy of the Void whenever that comes around. It probably won't be until the game stabilizes a little bit, so I might try to do it maybe like mid-summer when that starts up, because I'm expecting them to release a beta pretty soon. So yeah, I'll do that. This person says, as someone who's had the game for a couple months, how hard will it be to get accustomed to Legacy of the Void? Will I be able to pwn noobs on time? So if you want to start getting accustomed to how Legacy of the Void feels, find some people to play the fan-made alpha with. And of course, I've shown it here before on some other videos. I might as well just do that again. So I wasn't expecting to do this actually, so let me get all set up really fast. Fortunately, already into StarCraft, as you guys can hear. So if you wanted to play some Legacy of the Void fan alpha, then you can do this. Just loading into my custom games maps right now, which of course it's going to take forever, because yay for UI things that don't work several years after the game's released, right? So this is awkward. So what I would say, okay, here we go. So you can pick any Blizzard map. We'll narrow it down by ladder maps, and these are all the ones that are of course in ladder right now, so you can play on the same maps that you're used to. Go to whatever map you want, hit create with mod, and then if you search up here LOTV, there's my phone of course making noise right on time. As soon as that populates, which again UI stuff takes forever, actually looks like I need to enter in more search terms, so we're going to enter in Legacy of the Void Custom, LOTV Custom, and this is the mod that you want, the LOTV Custom Unofficial Fan Alpha, made by Soul Filter. Hit create game, and it'll download the mod or whatever, and it'll put you in a lobby in a custom game with this mod applied, so that when you actually start playing the game, you'll be playing it with Heart of the Swarm stuff, but there's new units and stuff. All the new like mining mechanics and stuff are the same as Heart of the Swarm, so you could have a friend jump in here and play against them. So this is the best way I would recommend getting used to Legacy of the Void before the game's even out, or before the beta is even out, so you can start really getting used to that. And then you can pawn some noobs or whatever you want to do in advance. So, since I wasn't expecting to do that, let me switch back here really quickly. So, yeah, I guess if you want to get a leg up, that's what you can do. I planned on bringing up StarCraft for something else, so of course leave it to me to not plan out and then look like a fool. So, here we go. Next question. You seem like a pretty driven person with StarCraft 2. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but are you a pro player? Are your goals to compete when Legacy of the Void comes out? Or, I guess, what are your general goals with the game overall? So, the reality with any game is that if you want to be pro, you have to spend probably 8 to 10 hours a day practicing. And the people that don't spend that amount of time practicing are the people that are like your mid-tier pros that don't make any money. So, I don't care about being pro, like it'd be cool, but I can't afford that at the stage that I'm in life. Like, I'm in full-time in school, There's no way I could afford 8 to 10 hours a day. I am married, so I have a wife, so obviously, like, she takes priority over other things that I do, so there's a lot of factors as to why, even if I wanted to, I couldn't be a pro player because I just don't have the time. Honestly, like, you'll find this out more and more the longer you play and the more you, like, figure out how your opponents play and stuff, is that people are actually not that good at this game. So I don't think I'm very good at this game, and you can get into Masters and start hitting GMs and maybe even get into GM as well and still not be very good at the game, in the sense that you're still not doing things perfectly the way that they could be done. So my general goals with the game is I really like to talk about the game, and I really like game design, considering I am in school to be a game designer, graduating very soon. So I really like to analyze what makes games fun for people and kind of teach people why I like the game. So I just started making videos a long time ago, and I started to get more and more into it as people started to enjoy my content, and all I really want to do is kind of show people how to have fun with games. And as I get more and more invested into my own projects as far as games and stuff, my interest in Starcraft may dwindle naturally, because once you have something that's really interesting, you've kind of worked a long time for, and it finally pays off, tends to take precedence. So I don't really have any goals with it other than just making content that people like on YouTube. I guess that's it. It's just talking about the game that I like. Alright, this person says, "Sir, how do you upload replays? I would like to show them to my friends, but the computer said that it doesn't support the program. Please help and thank you, sir." CS, sorry my English is bad. So by the way, it seems like every non-native English speaker says this, and you should hear people that are native English speakers that live in English-speaking countries. They sound like garbage, so your English is actually great. Don't worry too much about that. As far as the computer saying it doesn't support the program, it may be an outdated replay, so I'm not sure, but if you just want to know how to upload them, I can show you a cool way to do that. Let me switch back into Starcraft like I was planning on doing for this question. So I'm at the replay screen here, and there's a few tricks that you can do to... Hopefully my music isn't too loud. Let me turn this down just a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, I just hope it hasn't been drowning me out for a while, and I guess if it has been, then I'll go back and redo the video. That would kind of suck, but oh well. So I'm in my replay screen here, and what you can do is you can pick whatever replay you want, right click on it, hit show in folder, and you're going to see all your replays here. Then you want to pull up a site called drop.sc. It's a really nice way to drop in replays, and then it'll give you a link to it right away. So I'm just going to take this file, drag it into drop.sc. It says, yay, you're uploading a file. And then down here below it says you just did that. You can click on it, and then here's the link for it. There'll be more information that comes up here once it ever gets processed, but then you can just send them this really quick and short link. They can download it, and then they can watch it in StarCraft. At least ideally. Like, there's a lot of weird things with Blizzard's UI, like I've talked about before, that they haven't fixed. So in worst case scenario, you could download the replay, do that same trick with, you know, showing it in folder, and then just drop it into this folder, and then once you refresh this list, it should show up again. So, yeah, that's a good way to share replays and make sure you can get back to them while you're still in client, because this points to some really weird folder. You can kind of see the folder address here is like craziness, dialing all the way down. So, yeah, that's a nice little way to share it, a good way to get back to it as well. Let's jump back over to this screen and switch questions. I get this question all the time. I don't know why people don't understand this, because I've answered it a couple times as well, but it's not a big deal. This person says, why do pro players often press keys that are redundant? Actually, you'll notice that people that are not as good but are trying to be fast will press buttons that don't matter. And that's mostly because they just don't have the capability of doing other things. So even me, for example, it's just habit to press a lot of buttons really fast because I want to do things quickly. So if I need to press, you know, Q, it's fast for me to hit it a whole bunch of times because my brain's going really fast, as opposed to just hitting it once. It is ideal to just hit things once, and if you see like super top tier Korean players, they will literally not waste any actions, and it's pretty crazy to watch them play. But any other time you see people hitting a lot of keys, and it seems random. They're actually just doing that to kind of keep themselves ready and to keep their energy up and whatnot. So, I mean, if it doesn't hurt anything, then it doesn't matter. It's not like they're just being out of control and hitting buttons that don't make any sense. They're probably just spamming the same actions over and over. But, I mean, if you need to kind of get your energy up to a point where you're doing, like, 200 and 300 actions, then it sometimes is good just to press buttons to keep yourself ready. This person says, what do you think about the rumor that SE2 is dead game? Day 9 quit Starcraft. It's an enormous hit to the community. I feel that less and less players play Starcraft, and I don't think there's an alternative to a competitive RTS game. Do you think that Legacy of the Void will resurrect the game? So, the whole dead game stuff is so stupid because Starcraft was in kind of a weird place. Like, it was the first game that really became a Western esport in the whole, like, modern era. So, I mean, there were smaller ones, but they weren't anything like Starcraft was when it first came out. So Starcraft started to get, like, 20 to 30,000 stream viewers on their big events, and people hadn't seen them in the West before, so they're like, oh my god, this is so many people. But then, 2 and 3 years later, they see stream numbers that are actually bigger than that, and they say, oh, Starcraft is dead, nobody watches Starcraft. And that's because you have other games like League or Dota or Counter-Strike or whatever that are pulling huge numbers in, like 100k plus all the time. Part of it is because that those other games can be a little bit more entertaining to watch. They're all certainly more social games, considering they are team games. But I think the whole dead game thing is really stupid because, like, StarCraft wasn't a thing in West before StarCraft 2 came out. So if you want to see a dead game, you should literally see some of the older competitive games that people were really into, like Quake, for example. There are still people that play Quake, but nobody cares about pro Quake events. So literally, StarCraft could be infinity times more dead than it is right now. As long as there's still pro tournaments going on, and there are 3 premier tournament circuits that broadcast every week, then you can say the game is dead. So I think that whole dead game thing is so stupid, because they don't realize that even though StarCraft isn't as big as League or Dota or whatever, it's still more popular than it's ever been. So it's pretty silly. And I think saying more popular than it's ever been over time is true. Maybe right now people aren't as interested because Heart of the Swarm is getting a little bit boring, a little bit stale. As far as there's not being any alternative to a competitive RTS game, it's totally true. If you play any other RTS game, it just makes you want to play StarCraft because you're like, well, this part sucks in the game and StarCraft has this and this game doesn't, so I just want to play that instead. So you're totally right as far as RTS games. So here's another example. I've talked about Smash a little bit before, and I've played Smash my whole life, never even knew that people cared about the game, and then maybe a couple years ago, maybe less than that actually, there was a documentary that came out about Smash that totally resurrected the scene. Big Smash events get about 100k viewers now, whereas Smash literally was a dead game by definition in terms of Melee, even though still people played it. So, like, no matter what game you're into, there's always going to be other people that share your interest, and you can still find games with whatever game you want. Like, almost literally, like, you could load up any old version of Halo, for example, and probably still find matches if you were willing to wait, or if you're willing to go out of your way to find people to play with. Yeah, I think the whole dead game thing is just stupid insecurity about League being bigger than StarCraft. And League is bigger than StarCraft, it probably always will be, because it's a more social game, and League is free, so you're going to obviously get more interest in it. As far as Legacy of the Void resurrecting the game, like I said, I don't think the game is that dead to begin with, but Legacy of the Void will inject a lot of new life into the game, and one big thing they really need to focus on is they need to focus on moments that are fun for people to watch. And there's a lot of things in StarCraft that are not that fun to watch. So if you get like constant harassment, or if you get constant battles or little fights going on all over the map or something like that, or if strategies are so open and versatile that you can mold them and make it interesting for the viewer, then I think Legacy of the Void will do a lot better than Heart of the Swarm is right now. I mean, you should have seen when Wings of Liberty was falling off, people were whining and complaining so much. There's horrible viewer counts. Heart of the Swarm came out, and just for their release games, which were awful, people just screwing around, they got insane viewership for that. So I'm expecting exactly the same or more for Legacy of the Void. So this is a pretty long question here. I won't read the whole thing, but basically this person is saying they would like to see more hotkeys put into the game. And I actually really agree with stuff like this. I think that their hotkey setups can be really optimized, especially their standard ones, and especially considering how much effort has been put in by community members to try to make better hotkey schemes. So I totally agree that they should have more general actions be mapped to hotkeys, because it would make players faster. It would make it a lot less cumbersome for them to do really basic things like they talk about here. Removing units from control group by using, say, like Alt, for example, which I think that's a great idea. But I don't think Blizzard is that too focused on everything that goes on in their community. Like the amount of like passion and stuff that people have outside of the people that work there is crazy, because the Starcraft team is really small in Blizzard, and those people work on it because it's their job, and they release it and they're like, okay, cool, it's done, we don't have to worry about it anymore. So it's not really an ongoing thing that they pay a lot of attention to. So yeah, I totally agree, but I don't see them doing anything like that, because if they have a game that sells reasonably well, then they're going to put as little effort into, you know, getting it to be as perfect as possible. So this person says, why is there not a suitable tutorial system for multiplayer in StarCraft 2? There should be something that explains the concept of RTS and what races should do in a multiplayer match. Along with that, there should be some advanced tutorials on the stable metagame, or if Blizzard does not have time for it, there should be at least links to legitimate tutorial videos, because there are a lot of bad videos out there. I totally agree that there are a lot of bad videos out there, and that's kind of what inspired me to make the videos that I do. And not sure where I should go with this, but I don't care. I'm just going to come out and say that nobody has better tutorials than I do, because that's my focus. A lot of other videos that people make are like, watch me go from bronze to masters with this race, and it's like, watch me be a good player and dump on lower league players. Like, I don't see what that really teaches people. So I really thought that there should be a suitable tutorial, like, I guess, universe or whatever you want to call that, where basically every part of the game is talked about and explained to people that might not get it. Namely because it does make longer term fans more interested in the game if they know more about it and they can see the cool little details that people might miss. But yeah, I guess they didn't really care that much about it, and you know, to be fair, there weren't really games like StarCraft 2 that existed before StarCraft 2 existed, where a mass of people would be really interested in the super intricate parts of their game. That just was not a thing before StarCraft ever came around. It kind of was in Brood War, but it was really distanced from them because everything happened in Korea and almost nothing happened anywhere else. So they were kind of developing into totally uncharted waters, and there's a lot of games that have really taken advantage of the mistakes that they have made. So, like I said, I don't think they're going to add anything for that, but again, usually if there's problems with a game where there's a big need and it's not being filled by the developer, then other people around the game will fill that, such as myself or plenty of other YouTube content makers. But yeah, I have to agree that there are a lot of bad tutorials out there in the sense that they don't really give you that much information, and it's usually just somebody really good hammering somebody that's not good, and that's not a good way to learn. So this person says, hi, I'm Belgian and I viewed all your videos since the beginning. Impeccable work. Man, this guy's old school. A little question or idea for Legacy of the Void. What do you think of a personal practice HQ in the menu? Man, we're talking a lot about Blizzard made stuff today, where you can create or develop builds and where you can polish your playstyle. After you finish a training session, it automatically makes a progress report of energy, resources, spending, etc. There are some websites that will actually analyze replays for you, but the problem with StarCraft, so I should start off by saying a friend of mine actually made a pretty big replay analysis site, and we got down to a point where we started to ask like what things in the game matter outside of obviously spending and stuff like that people could get useful metrics from, and it almost broke down to a point where there's not really an answer. Like, you just have to be able to look at your own games and see what's going wrong and fix it yourself. This person says also that community-made builds can be exchanged by relations sites, or asking after battles could be great. There are a lot of community-made builds, and again, I wasn't expecting to do this, but a site that I hear thrown around a lot is called Imba Builds. Let me switch over to it really fast so you guys can see. I've actually never been here before because I don't really talk about builds a lot. Well, I'm at the wrong URL. I don't usually talk about builds a whole lot because it's really advanced, but this page does have a lot of interesting builds that people use on ladder or pro players use that you can take and manipulate yourself. So I think as far as wanting to have the whole build order sharing and manipulation stuff like that, there's a whole bunch of them out there that you can take a look at. And again, this place is called imbabuilds.com. You can see their little logo here. I don't usually throw out support for sites, but this seems to get a lot of attention. It seems like the only real website that focuses on adding updated builds nowadays. And you can see it does look a little bit placeholdery in the sense of their artwork and whatnot. It seems like it's just some guy that really likes build orders and likes to put them on there, so definitely give him your support if you are interested in getting more build orders added to your repertoire. So, yeah. Also, sorry for my poor English. Guys, you don't have bad English. English is awesome. Alright. What race do you think I should main? I've been playing Protoss for a bit and I'm liking them, but I'm kind of interested in both Terran and Zerg. Any recommendations on what you personally prefer? So, as far as picking races, you should really just play what you think is the most fun. And this is for any game where you can select a character or race or whatever. Just play the one that's most fun, because at the end of the game, lol, at the end of the day, what's actually most important is that you're having fun. And if you're good with a race, that doesn't mean that you're having fun with that race. You should really just play a style and play a race that you think is really fun. This person says, and if so, where should I look to in getting better at that particular race? Yo, like, come on. Again, check out my channel page that has links to all my playlists for every race. Again, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I was not prepared to show my channel, but I feel like it's appropriate here. If you ever want to check out any of the videos that I make, especially for your particular race, go to YouTube, and we'll get it up here in just a second, as soon as I stop derping out. So again, go to YouTube, search Magnet Starcraft. First result is me, and then on this page you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff on here, but namely what's important are these playlists. I break down the playlists by race, which is Terran, Zerg, Protoss, and each one of these has a ton of videos that pertain to pretty much every game situation. So if you wanna really get better at the game and know more about how the game works, there's infinity content here for you to check out. And I'm sure by the end of watching maybe 5 or 6 of these videos, you're gonna have a lot of information, and you'll probably also be fairly sick of me. So sorry about that. Okay. This person says, I don't know if anyone will see this, but I'm playing Protoss and I get destroyed by those 6-minute Marauder rushes, and if he drops at the same time at my base, I've lost. This person's asking a whole bunch of questions about what they should do here. And so this is a funny thing that I thought I'd talk about. I already answered this question on the video, which you can see again. The video that's being asked on is right here. It's a Protoss strategy versus Terran video. And a lot of people ask me weird questions about strategy because you usually don't see these types of things at higher levels, such as like a Marauder Rush or one base bio or anything like that. But what you should do if you're in one of these situations is you should look at all of your available options. Like if they attack you at 6 minutes or whatever, which 6 minutes I find hard to believe, that's a lot earlier than people think. Try to analyze, like say, if I went for this many gateways, or if I went for a robo, or if I went for a Stargate, or whatever, how many units could I have out versus what he brings to my base? There's always a solution there, because the travel time across the map, the fact that there are unit counters, and the fact that they will be pigeonholed into doing one thing if you can figure out what they're doing, means that if you can get the timing that they show up, then you can analyze, if I went down all these different paths, what would I have by 6 minutes? And if it's good enough, then that's what you do against what you see. So for example, I told this person to try opening Stargate and making an Oracle. The Oracle will be in their base at, as early as maybe 5:30, depends on where you build the Stargate and how fast you build it. But if they're out on the map with a bunch of Marauders, then you can make a Void Ray back at home, You'll eventually kill the Marauders, and the Oracle will kill whatever it wants back at his base. So, like, just look at these different situations and see, if I went Robo, what could I have out by this time? I could have 7 Warp Prisms, yay! Well, I won't do anything. But in this case, if you had Stargate, or if you had a lot of gateways or something, then you can measure up and see what you could possibly have about all those times and figure out what the best route is for you. Considering almost every situation like this does have not necessarily an optimal way to react, it's just up to you. This person says, I'm wondering how smart it is to learn to play Protoss or Zerg first, since I really dislike having a lot of weak units, and what is the easiest to play for a beginner? Like I said in another question, real quick, is that you should play whatever race is really, like, speaks to you. I play Protoss because I think a lot of their units are really fun. I mean, there's no real reason for me to main Protoss other than that. I think a lot of their units are really cool. But I'll quickly break down each race and tell you why each one would be appealing versus the other. And this is not only for a beginner, but this is like as you learn more into the game and as you scale up, if you'd be interested in these type of things. So for Terran, Terran has very different playstyles. You can either play a very scrappy, kind of small battles all over the place type of style with Terran, and they're the best race for that. Or you can play Mech, which is super slow, very methodical, stuff like that. It kind of seems like there's not really much of a middle ground between those two. Either you have to play super slow as Terran, or you have to play super fast as Terran. So if you like that whole like juxtaposition of being stuck between one or the other, or especially if you really like scrappy play with dropships and small amounts of units, you should play Terran. Protoss is much more the analytical race. They're kind of the race that like sits back and they're like, let's see, you're bringing 6 Marauders, so what should I do against that? And they're the race that will benefit the most from planning out their build orders and responding properly to build orders. They're also the race that loses the hardest to planning improperly and not scouting. So Protoss is all about information. So if you ever see in like, you know, stories, there's always the one character that's like, I'm an information broker, I'm so wise, I know all these things about you, and I can divulge your secrets and it'll hurt you. That's kind of what Protoss is. Protoss is kind of the race where if you know what's going on and you can maintain all of your expensive units in the fights, then you should win. Zerg is kind of a little bit more of a mechanical race in the sense that they have a lot of actions to do that don't seem that useful to beginners. And those are things like creep spreading and larva injects. Both of those are actions that are fairly repetitive, but if you're able to do those and keep on top of them, it's literally the race where you will just stomp on people if you do those properly. So I feel like Zerg is the very... all these races kind of embody the spirit in which they were created. So Zerg is supposed to be like the... kind of take over everything type of race, and that's totally the feel that you get. You will just totally overrun and consume anything within your path if you do the things you're supposed to do with Zerg, such as make drones, inject, scout, spread creep, all that kind of stuff. If you can maintain all of the actions that don't seem that important, they will really stack up and you will just crush people underneath your giant iron fist with Zerg. So yeah, whichever one of those sounds more appealing is the one you should definitely play with and start to go with. As far as easiest to play for beginners, I don't think that's a fair question, because everyone seems to think they're better at this game than they really are, or vice versa. They seem to think they're worse than they really are. You'll eventually balance out, and you'll eventually find a way to play that's fun for you, and that should be what's important. Alright, I guess that's it. Not too many questions this week. I think we only had 11 or 12. But I still managed to make about a half-hour video, which I like to do. Or not necessarily like to do, but it just happens. So yeah, I guess we'll call that good for this week. If you have any questions you want me to answer, and it can be anything about the game, anything about other games too. I really like a lot of other games. Of course, I am a game designer, so if you have any questions about anything about that too, ask me, let me know. I'll be back very soon with more videos. And hopefully Legacy of the Void will be dropping their beta soon so we can start playing and figuring it out. So, yeah, let me know if we can do anything else for you, and I don't know what I'm saying, so that's where you say goodbye, and you end the video like this.